All right. We are in book 2, and this book is noted as the steps to union. So we had the problems of union, the problems to union earlier. Now we have the steps to union, and we're going to get started here with the first sutra, and this is quite a long one, actually. So, this should be interesting for us too, in a slightly different way, because it's not something that I see too much about, this spiritual reading. This is not, so we'll see. Okay. So here we go. The yoga of action leading to union with the soul is fiery aspiration, spiritual reading, and devotion to Ishvara. We must here bear in mind that we are beginning the book which outlines the practical part of the work, which gives the rules which must be followed if the aspirant hopes to achieve, and which indicates those methods which will bring about the realization of spiritual consciousness. The objective has been dealt with in book 1. The aspirant naturally says, on concluding book 1, how desirable and how right, but how shall this be? What must I do? Where shall I begin? Patanjali starts at the very beginning, and in this book, he indicates 1, the basic personality requirements, 2, the hindrances, which can then be noted by the earnest disciple, and 3, the 8 means of yoga, or the 8 kinds of activity, which will bring about the needed results. Now, we should make note that, the ageless wisdom also gives many rules and teachings on how this is done as well. Okay. So this isn't the only place. This is the commentary on this, and this is integrated into the ageless wisdom, I should say. But nevertheless, DK found it important enough to pass because of this commentary is so unbelievable. So we shall continue. We don't stop. So because we have fiery aspiration, and that's what's going to get us to the goal, right? To achieve eventually, no matter how long it takes. So let's see here. The very simplicity of this outline makes its value exceedingly great. There is no confusion, no complex dissertations, but just a clear, simple statement of the requirements. Might be of value here if we dealt with the various yogas so as to give the student a clear concept as to their distinctions and thus cultivate his discrimination. The principal yogas are 3 in number. The various other so-called yogas finding their place in one of these 3 groups. So we have Raja Yoga, which is yoga of the mind or will. We have Bhakti Yoga, which is yoga of the heart or the devotee, and Karma Yoga, which is yoga of action. Raja Yoga stands by itself and is the king science of them all. It is the summation of all the others. It is the climax and that which completes the work of development in the human kingdom. It is the science of the mind and of the purposeful will, and brings the higher of man's sheets in the 3 worlds under the subjugation of the inner ruler. This science coordinates the entire lower threefold man, forcing him to a position where he is nothing but the vehicle for the soul or God within. It includes the other yogas and prophets by their achievements. It synthesizes the work of evolution and crowns man as king. Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of the heart. It is the bringing into submission of all the feelings, desires, and emotions to the one beloved, seen and known in the heart. It is the sublimation of all the lower loves and the bringing captive of all longings and desire to the one longing to know the God of love and the love of God. It was the kingly or crown science of the last root race, the Atlantean, just as the science of Raja Yoga is the great science of our Aryan civilization. Bhakti Yoga made its exponent an arhat, or led him to the fourth initiation. Raja Yoga makes him an adept and leads him to the portal of the fifth initiation. Both lead to liberation, for the arhat is released from the cycle of rebirth, but Raja Yoga liberates him to complete service and freedom to work as a white magician. Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of the heart of the astral body. Karma Yoga was a specific relation to physical plane activity, has a specific relation to physical plane activity and to the working out into objective manifestation of all the inner impulses. In its ancient and simplest form, it was the yoga of the third or Lemurian root race, and its two best known expressions are A, Hatha Yoga, and B, Laya Yoga. The former has specifically to do with the physical body, its consciousness, not subconscious and automatic, functioning, its conscious functioning, and all the various practices which give man control over the different organs and the entire mechanical apparatus of the physical body. The latter has to do with the etheric body, with the force centers or chakras found in that body, and with the distribution of force currents and the awakening of the serpent fire. It might be pointed out that if we divide the human into three departments, it might be stated that Karma Yoga resulted in the awakening of the force centers below the diaphragm. Bhakti Yoga resulted in their transmutation and transference into the two centers above the diaphragm, yet in the torso, the heart, and the throat. Raja Yoga synthesizes all the forces of the body in the head and from there distributes and controls them. Raja Yoga, which Patanjali primarily deals with, includes the effects of all the others. It is only possible when the others have been worked with, but not in the sense of working with them in this life. Evolution has brought all the sons of men who are ready to be chelas or disciples through the various races, and whilst the Lemurian race, or else on the preceding chain or great cycle, they were all Hatha and Laya yogins. This resulted in the development and control of the dual physical body, dense and etheric. Whilst in the Atlantean race, the desire or astral body was developed, and the flower of that race were true sons of Bhakti Yoga and true devotees. Now the highest of the three bodies must be brought to its fullest development, and this Raja Yoga is intended to do, and this is the objective of Patanjali's work. The Aryan race will contribute this fuller development to the general economy and the entire human family, with the exception of a percentage which entered the race too late to permit of the full flowering of the soul, will manifest as sons of God with all the powers of the God unfolded and consciously used on the physical plane and in the physical body. Patanjali says that 3 things will bring this about, coupled with the following of certain methods and rules, and these 3 are fiery aspiration, the domination of the physical man, so that every atom of his body is afire with zeal and endeavor. 2, spiritual reading, which has reference to the capacity of the mental body to see back of a symbol or to touch the subject lying back of the object. 3, devotion to Ishvara, which relates to the astral or emotional body, the whole heart poured out in love to God, God in his own heart, God in the heart of his brother, and God as seen in every form. Fire is the sublimation of karma yoga. Devotion to Ishvara is the sublimation of bhakti yoga, while spiritual reading is the first step to Raja Yoga. Devotion to Ishvara is a large and general term covering the relation of the personal self to the higher self, the Ishvara or Christ principle in the heart. It covers also the relation of the individual Ishvara to the universal or cosmic Ishvara. It deals with the realization of the soul in man, that it is an integral part of the oversoul. This results in group consciousness, which is the objective of the kingly science, which I want to say is also the objective of the 3rd initiation, which is really, and as we know, considered by the higher ups, the first initiation, first big initiation. The other 2 just leading up to it. Devotion involves certain factors which it is valuable for the devotee to realize. A capacity to decentralize oneself, to change one's attitude from self-centeredness and selfishness to one of outgoing to the loved one. All things are counted as loss provided the object of one's devotion is attained. I think I've gone through these before. I want to say selfishness and selflessness are a big part of this book as we progress later on, as we get into this, because becoming selfless is, that's what this is all about. And Paul had said this, right? I count all things as loss. So it's obedience to the beloved object. 2, let's see, devotion involves certain factors. The second factor, which is valuable for the devotee to realize, obedience to the beloved object once that beloved is known. This has been called in some translations, complete obedience to the master. And this is the true and accurate translation, but in view of the fact that the word master connotes to the occult student, one of the adepts, we have chosen to translate the word as Ishvara, the one God in the heart of man, the divine jiva or point of divine life at the center of man's being. Okay, let's see what this says here. Okay. The word master notes to the occult student, one of the adepts, We have chosen to translate the word as Ishvara, the one God in the heart of man, the divine jiva, or point of divine life at the center of man's being. This is the same in all men, whether savage or adept. The difference only lies in degree of manifestation and of control. Complete obedience to any guru or mahatma in the sense of complete subjugation of the will is never taught in the true science of yoga. Subjugation of the lower man to the will of the inner God is taught, and all the methods and rules of yoga are to this specific end. This should be carefully borne in mind. Spiritual reading is the most significant and occult preliminary thereto. Which, it's very interesting, because I would want to say a lot of us, a lot of those out there, when, once an awakening takes place, become very heavy readers, and really some never having read much at all before that. And then following the breadcrumbs, the trail of breadcrumbs from book to book to book and page to page, until we find, we get to the point where we need to be, right? Whatever that means. A break for a second there. Somebody was at the door. Every form is the result of thought and sound. Every form veils or conceals an idea or concept. Every form, therefore, is but the symbol or attempted representation of an idea, and this is true without exception on all planes of our solar system, wherein forms are found, whether created by God, man, or Deva. We're going to have to read that one again. Every form is the result of thought and of sound. Every form veils or conceals an idea or concept. Every form, therefore, is but the symbol or attempted representation of an idea, and this is true without exception on all the planes of our solar system, wherein forms are found, whether created by God, man, or Deva, which we could say angel. One object of the disciple's training is to enable him to ascertain that which lies back of any form in any kingdom of nature, and thus ascertain the nature of the spiritual energy which brought it into being. The vastness of this cosmic symbolism will be apparent to even the most superficial thinker, and the beginner upon the path of chelaship has to learn to separate the many forms into certain specific groups, standing for certain basic ideas. He has to interpret the ideas lying back of specific symbols, and he has to look for the specific impulse latent in every form. All right, I had to take a break again. apologize. I somewhat lost my spot here. I know that we just went through every form as the result of thought and sound, which is unbelievably profound. And then we're just going to start here. One object of a disciple's training is to enable him to ascertain that which lies back of any form in any kingdom. Okay, we got this. And the nature, thus ascertain the nature of the spiritual energy which brought it into being. The vastness of this cosmic symbolism will be apparent to even the most superficial thinker, and the beginner upon the path of fellowship has to learn to separate the many forms into certain specific groups, standing for certain basic ideas. And this does help as we look at the kingdoms, and we can kind of relate this to the planes. If I might, just for a second, we can say the physical plane is related to the mineral kingdom. The astral plane is related to the vegetable kingdom. The mental plane is related to the animal kingdom, and the Buddhic plane is related to the highest expression of the human kingdom. And then we have, and we move into the spiritual. I want to say this is correct here. I will double check on that again though. But so we have also symbolized by bread, water, and fire. Okay, so bread, water, fire, and these lower planes, and that's what the symbolism is there. As we live this life, and we read, and we hear people talk, and we listen to music, and we see these things on in entertainment. These things come up quite a bit. And there are also ways for us to relate to what is going on in the lower three worlds with people that we talk to. So we have to interpret the ideas lying back of specific symbols. Now we're moving into more specifics, and I have to look for the specific impulse latent in all forms. You can begin practically to do this in the environment and in the place where he is. You can look for the idea which his brothers form veils. He can search for God behind the body of any and every man. Thus, the sutra under consideration takes the aspirant into the most practical part of life. It brings him face to face with the three basic inquiries, and as he seeks to answer them aright, he will inevitably equip himself to tread the path. These three inquiries are: towards what objective do all the longings and aspirations of my soul trend? Towards God or to things material? Am I bringing my entire lower nature under the control of Ishvara, or the true spiritual man? And do I see God back of every form and circumstance in my daily contacts? I'm going to go out on a ledge and say, for if we're listening to this and we've moved into this material here, then yes, most of these things are true for us. There's not much question there at this point. Let's do the second sutra today as well, and we'll see how far we get here. The aim of these three is to bring about soul vision and to eliminate obstructions. It is interesting to note here that the words soul vision precede the thought of the eliminated hindrances or obstructions, showing that the vision is possible even to those who have not yet perfected themselves. The vision comes in those moments of exaltation and high aspiration to which most of the sons of men are susceptible, and provides the incentive needed to produce that determination and perseverance which the elimination of the obstruction necessitates. The words elimination of the obstructions, or the alteration of the hindrances, as it's sometimes translated, is a large and generic expression, and Hindu commentators point out that it involves even the eradication of the seeds of those hindrances and their total destruction as by fire, that just as a burnt, dried up seed is no longer capable of propagation and becomes unfertile, producing no growth, so the seeds of the obstructions to the life of the spirit are similarly rendered infertile. These seeds are found in three groups, each producing a large crop of hindrances or obstructions on the three planes of man's evolution. The seeds latent in the physical body, those producing the obstructions of the astral body, and the seeds latent in the mental body. They are of three kinds, in each case making literally 9 types or kinds of seeds. One, brought over previous lives. 2, seeds sown in this life. 3, seeds brought into the field of one's life from the family or race with which one is allied. It is these seeds which produce the obstructions or hindrances to soul vision. And the free play of spiritual energy, and Patanjali says they are of 5 kinds and proceeds to deal with them specifically. By some commentators, the word is translated distractions, and all 3 terms are equally correct, and any of them can be used. It may be pointed out that 1, the word obstruction is more technically correct when applied to the physical plane. 2, the word hindrance is more illuminating when applied to those which, through the medium of the astral body, prevent soul vision. And 3, the word distraction has more specific reference to the difficulties of so man who seeks to quiet the mind and so achieve soul vision. This is amazing right here. That should resonate with us, I want to say. This is really very clear and concise. Let's do one more sutra today. These are the difficulty producing hindrances: avidya, ignorance, and the sense of personality, desire, hate, and the sense of attachment. These are the difficulty producing hindrances. And this is astral in nature, right? As we just learned really here. These are the 5 wrong ideas or concepts which for aeons of time and throughout many lives prevent the sons of men from realizing that they are the sons of God. It is these concepts which lead men to identify themselves with that which is lower and material, and to forget the divine realities. It is these misconceptions which make a prodigal son of the divine monad. It is these misconceptions which make a prodigal son of the divine monad. And these being sense of, ignorance, which is sense of personality, desire, hate, and the sense of attachment. And this makes us the prodigal son of the divine monad, of the Father. It makes us the prodigal son of the Father, and which send him forth into the far country to eat of the husks of mortal existence. And it is these which must be overcome and eliminated before a man can lift up his eyes and see again the vision of the Father and the Father's home, and so being able to tread consciously the path of return. It might be pointed out that two of the hindrances, avidya and a sense of personality, relate to man, the synthesis upon the physical plane, that desire has relation to his astral body or vehicle of feeling, and that hate and a sense of attachment are products of the sense of egoism, the ahamkara principle, which animate the mental body. And, the interesting part of that is, in a sense, there's not one that is more or less difficult or equal to the other in terms of the strength of that. I want to say these are equal in force. Thus, the threefold personality is the field for the seeds and in the soil of the personal life, and the three worlds do these seeds propagate and flourish and grow up to obstruct and hinder the real man. These seeds must be destroyed, and in their destruction, three things eventuate. Karma is worked off, liberation is achieved, the vision of the soul is perfected. Okay, that's a lot for today. I think we're gonna stick to the three. As we blow by these things, we should recognize that we are blown by some things, because this stuff is so profound. I know for certain, and when I was as we were reading the first, this first sutra, we blew by some things, certainly. So, I guess, if I could make a recommendation, it would be to probably take your time and go through these things slower than in some areas. Yeah, we wrote. Well, I'm very thankful that we're reading this stuff. And we will continue on tomorrow. I hope. Actually, I might be off of the net for a couple of days for work. I'm certainly going to try to get these in. We'll see if I can do it first thing super early in the morning, or even later today. But we'll see. Okay. Well, either way, we're going to keep going. All right. Appreciate you. See you soon.